Welcome to the Mama Needs a Moment podcast with your hosts, Chrissy and Cindy, co-founders of Her Plus Health Collective, and moms who understand the chaos of juggling it all. But here's the thing, your well-being matters. That's why we're on a mission to change the way moms take care of themselves. This season, every episode features a roundtable conversation, bringing together trusted experts from different backgrounds to talk about the topics that matter most to moms, creating space for more collaborative whole person care. These episodes are short, meaningful, and easy to fit into real life. You'll hear from our Her Plus expert providers sharing expert insight and real-life tips you can use right away. Learn more about them in our free provider directory linked in the show notes. So take a deep breath, grab your coffee, and let's make these moments count. Welcome back to Mama Needs a Moment, and another very warm welcome to our Her Plus expert providers who are joining us for our discussion today on mom metabolism and what changes, what doesn't, and what you can do about it. Together, we are all striving to help moms understand what is actually within their control regarding their metabolism, what's normal, and what sustainable habits truly support long-term health and vitality. Before we begin, each expert will briefly introduce themselves and share their area of focus. This way, our listeners will be able to tell through the voice who is talking. And then I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that our podcast episodes are also available in video format on our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to see all of our experts and the energy we give as we're talking to each other, that's another option for everyone that's listening.
Hey, everybody. My name is Kate Lehman, and I am a certified nurse midwife. I have been working here in the Triangle since 2009. In a variety of areas, home birth, birth center, and attending births in hospitals. And I recently started a practice called Mother Love Wellness. After having observed some of the gaps in women's healthcare, I'm focusing on early pregnancy, less than 10 weeks gestation, the first postpartum year, and the perimenopause.
I'm Abby DeVries. I'm a family physician and certified menopause practitioner. And I also recently opened my own practice. It's called Sabia Health. It's a direct primary care practice focused on women in midlife, located in Durham, but I can see anyone in North Carolina virtually. And so I'm actively recruiting for patients who are just looking for kind of full scope primary care or just need some help getting through menopause and perimenopause.
I'm Catherine Andrew, and I'm a registered dietitian. I have been in practice for about 20 years and have a practice that works primarily with women. And we do comprehensive nutrition, whole body support, where we focus on digestive health, hormone health, and metabolic health, and really love to support the nervous system above all else as it relates to nutrition and health in that way. I have recently, in the last few years, delved more into focusing specifically on women in perimenopause. So I work with women in that age group and love my work and love helping women navigate so much of the clutter that we see online.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Priest, founder of Great Days by Sarah. I'm an ACE-certified personal trainer going into my 21st year, which is crazy. So yes, I started when I was like 8 years old. And then I tagged on a perinatal wellness specialty when I found out I was pregnant. So I work with moms that are going through pregnancy or trying to get pregnant, and then through their whole journey of becoming moms, where we tend to fall to the bottom of the priority list. And I learned that the hard way as a mom. So now I work with moms in the physical, the mental, and emotional capacity of carving out 2% of the day for themselves so they can love the way they look and feel, have more energy and confidence.
When we discuss metabolism changes, it's important to emphasize how moms feel mentally and emotionally when these changes take place, because so many women may notice that they don't, quote unquote, feel normal. How do hormone shifts and poor sleep show up as anxiety, low mood, or depressive symptoms for moms? And why should mental health be considered a core part of metabolic health, not something separate? So we did talk about a little bit of this in some of our previous episodes, but I think this is a wonderful time to dig a bit deeper on the mental health aspect and how mental health can be considered a core part of metabolic health and they're not separated.
I think one of the biggest things would be to understand, to know that changing hormones actually change your brain chemicals, right? I think that is sort of the first permission for women to understand. And we see that in little ways throughout our cycle when we're in sort of a normal fertile years, but then we really see it in perimenopause and menopause. And Lisa Mosconi, Dr. Lisa Mosconi is a fabulous physician out there. I know these women know her, who has done some great work and continues to do work on actually showing the changes in brain chemicals and the production of some of these brain chemicals, things like serotonin and GABA and dopamine, and how they change because our hormones are changing. So almost just permission to know that you are not crazy, and that it can feel, and women that we work with every day can feel like they are out of body and having a very different experience. And often that is driven by some of these hormone changes that are happening, not always, and there's lots of different layers, of course, but I think just knowing that is one of the biggest things that I like to help women understand, that there are reasons to some extent outside of my control, that as my hormones are changing, that these brain chemicals are going to change. And so kind of like metabolism, how do I work with it rather than against it? What can I do to support either these hormones or replacing these brain chemicals is a really important first step of the puzzle, because I find that we then try to manage and control everything that we can, and that ends up backfiring oftentimes in terms of anxiety and stress, because we just don't know what else to try.
Do you love our real, unfiltered conversations on motherhood? Help us keep them going.
By becoming a patron, you're not just helping us keep the podcast going, you're fueling meaningful conversations, supporting moms, and helping us bring on even more incredible expert guests. Plus, you'll get access to exclusive perks like behind-the-scenes content, bonus episodes, and a deeper connection to our Her Health Collective community.
Join us today and be part of something special, because every mom deserves a moment. Let's make sure we can keep creating them together.
I think probably all of us here try to use that biopsychosocial model where we're not only educating women and trying to understand what's going on with them biologically and then how that might affect their mental health, but then also just that role transition, like what is my identity? Like this was my identity for the first 30 years of my life as an adult woman, from puberty on through reproductive phase, and now getting into perimenopause. Like, what is that next chapter about? You know, who am I as a person? What do I want for the rest of my life? So I think making the space for all of those elements is so important for women to realize that bringing all of that together is essential to support all those systems.
Yeah, let's say I think it's something like 30% of women in their 40s are on some sort of psychotropic medication. And I think more and more, especially psychiatrists, are also recognizing that maybe what should be tried first is hormones. And then if especially if there's other symptoms going on and it's appropriate for that woman and her medical history, and then you can add on medications, but sort of starting with, replacing something that is kind of natural to you. But at the same time, I think there's this sort of perception of kind of negativity around perimenopause, that it's crazy and we're crazy and life is over. And I've been thinking about how to kind of reframe it as sort of a time of transformation. And I think actually some pruning happens in your brain similarly to puberty, where you can sort of decide, what am I going to get rid of, and have the freedom to sort of say no to. And so I think in some sense there's a lot of empowerment that can happen. And I think it's important for us as wellness and healthcare professionals to lead with that, and recognize that people often are really struggling, and then there's things we can do, but also that like it's okay to celebrate some things too in this phase.
Just to drive home a point that Dr. Abby mentioned, when the WHI happened and almost overnight, we stopped prescribing hormones to women, antidepressants and sleep aids soared, and men's erectile dysfunction medications. Those are like the top three that really took off during that time. And so now we have so much more awareness of how helpful hormones can be, and we're bringing that back into what we can offer. It's great.
It also isn't separate. Like you said in the beginning, Cindy, it's like it weaves into everything. So taking this holistic approach and not just the physical, but the mental, it's all tied in. Your mental health affects everything. And I would encourage listeners to, if you're not working with a mental health specialist, if you are struggling, seek help. Like it's okay to say, like, I can't do this on my own. My therapist likes to remind me that my mom, when she was my age, had teenagers and college age kids. My kids are little. Like I'm going through this phase and my kids are 7 and 9. Like this is not what, say, the previous generation was normal to experience during this phase. So I have like my kids, my daughters have not started their periods yet, but we will be in it together through this change and change. And that's just not how it was for my mom. Like we were all older, we were gone, we were on our own. And the therapist that I work with likes to remind me of like, this is kind of uncharted territory. Like women are having kids later. You are dealing with aging parents, little kids, and being in perimenopause. And it's not an easy trifecta to approach.
Just to wrap up this discussion on the mental health aspect with the hormones and sleep and how that's all affected, when a mom, or if a mom was to recognize that they don't feel normal, what do you advise as the first step? A lot of times they will go to multiple different doctors to say, I just don't feel right, and they're dismissed. Do you have recommendations on where to go first or the path that they should take?
I think I would always want to encourage some quantitative data. So like I have a form that I give moms that just hour by hour, they can record what's going on as far as their sleep pattern, and just having that in front of us and seeing that the baby's waking you up, or your husband's movement in the bed, or what factors are interfering with your sleep, and then kind of trying to dive into like that support and whatever modifications we can bring in, maybe some lifestyle changes initially, and seeing how that helps. And then, if she's still struggling, trying to address, what else is there room for supplements or medications that would make sense in this scenario.
Keep looking for a provider, right? So if they're being dismissed by their provider, find a provider. There's lots of different specialties you could start with. I mean, my immediate thought was a therapist, because all of these things, again, like we said, come back to the nervous system and stress, but find a provider, a physician, a therapist, a nutritionist, of whatever it might be, that like that listens and that's willing to be creative and help you think through, have you considered this, and what about this, and not too many options, but what are the different pieces of the puzzle that might really need support, and then can navigate you to a different provider that if that's not their role to do. So I think there are enough wonderful providers in the triangle that we do not need to put up with care that stops at dismissive of symptoms for women in this age group. And yes, hormones are hard to test, and there's some challenges to treating women in perimenopause, but that doesn't mean that you have to stay with a provider who isn't willing to walk through those with you and help you find solutions that are going to work for you, that are not just Band-Aid solutions.
Yeah, that's well said. I always encourage people to start with their primary care provider, who might be an OB/GYN, depending on their phase of life, because hopefully they know you, and more traditional providers are getting the message, at least for perimenopause, that we need to be listening to women, but they don't have a lot of time. And if you do feel dismissed, then I think Catherine's right. There's a lot of providers. And one of the models that is growing in the triangle is direct primary care, where people pay a subscription. That's my model. The first visit's an hour if you need it, and then there's kind of no limit on the amount of interaction that you can have throughout the month. And it's often affordable if people have a high deductible plan, because they can submit to their HSA and get reimbursed that way, pre-tax dollars. So it is a model, that can save you money on like going to a bunch of different specialists, and, for other acute needs, possibly urgent care or ER. So that's one model. But there are a lot of great providers, and I encourage people to keep looking until they find someone that they feel heard from, just like Catherine said.
This is the perfect opportunity for me to give a shameless plug for our free provider directory and Her Health Collective, where we have vetted experts and they all focus on inclusive care. So yes, that can be accessed on our website. Thank you all for that wonderful discussion. Come back for our next episode where you can get more information from our HerPlus expert providers in this current roundtable discussion on the topic of metabolism.
That's a wrap. You carved out a few moments just for yourself, and that's a big deal.
We understand that time is limited, but we've got your back, which is why we keep these episodes short, sweet, and packed with goodness.
Don't miss a thing. Hit the follow button so you're always the first to know when a new episode drops. If you had as much fun as we did, let us know by leaving a review.
And remember to let other moms know that we're here doing motherhood alongside you, grateful to share a few moments taking care of you.